Hello friends! With the Procreate 5.4 update, there are now even more incredible default brushes to choose from, and we're going to explore some of them. In this video, I'm going to try the Olive brush. To find this brush, open up the brush library, head to the oils set, and Olive is third on the list. I've not made any changes in the brush studio, and I'll be using the brush exactly as it was installed. And I'm going to be working on a canvas that's set to 3000 pixel square at 300 dpi. Make sure to watch this linked video to find out why that's important. I'm also going to be using a canvas texture background. I'll leave a link in the description for where I found this and several other paper textures for free. Even though this is going to be a textured background, just remember that the image layer needs to remain at the top of your layer stack, and you need to change the blending mode to multiply. Okay, let's take a look at the brush behaviors. As always, I'm going to start with a stroke test at a small, medium, and large size. Now at the smallest stroke, you do see some texture showing up, which means that you don't get a super smooth line. There are gaps that show up there. It is smoother at the medium size. There's some texture here and there, but it's not very prominent. At the largest size, you do see this shift in color that's happening down the center of the stroke. Especially here, you see that it's much lighter down the center. And it's pretty smooth for the most part, but you do see some areas of texture show up sporadically. There is some pressure sensitivity with this brush, so you're seeing a lighter value and a smaller sized stroke with light pressure, and then a darker value and a thicker stroke as you apply more pressure. Now I'm going to draw a few color swatches so that we can test the opacity. Now, as you can see, the brush is mostly opaque. There is a little bit of orange showing through here, but for the most part, you get decent coverage, even light over dark. I do notice that there is some color shifting happening here. Let me take a closer look at that. So every time you lift your pencil up and add another layer of color, it's shifting slightly. So you're getting some darker areas and then some brighter areas. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet, but I'll reserve judgment until after I paint something with the brush and see how it works. Okay, now I'm going to change my pencil grip so that I'm using more of the side of the pencil. See what that does. Okay, so it just looks like you're painting with a really dry brush. All right, now let's check out the smudge tool. I'm going to long press so that we've switched to the olive brush in the smudge tool. Oh, this actually blends really nicely. You can get some really nice smooth gradients of color with this smudge tool. Yeah, I like how that works. All right, so next I'm going to paint something with this brush and see how it performs. I have zero experience with oil painting, both the traditional and digital varieties. So this will be my first time experimenting with this medium. I'm going to start with a quick pencil sketch of a clementine, or this might be a mandarin, I'm not sure. I used a reference photo for the general shape, but I changed a few things up slightly. I'm going to start with a mid-tone color, then plot out the basic shadows and highlights before I start to refine anything. Like I said, I don't have any experience with oil painting, so I have no idea what the typical process is or what techniques I should be using. I'm just going off instinct here. I'm using several different oranges for the darker values, and I'll use yellow for the lighter values. I'm going to go ahead and add a base color for the leaves and stem as well. Again, I'm using a mid-tone color so I can darken and lighten areas as needed later on. While I'm at it, I'm just going to add some color to the background as well. And this is kind of rough, but I'll refine things later. Okay, now I can start building more layers of color on the orange to refine the shadows and highlights. I'm using the side of the pencil here so I can get more of that textured look of a dry brush. This side is quite dark in the reference photo, so I'm bringing in an even darker orange, almost a brown. Then I can use an even lighter yellow for the brightest highlights. I'm using the side of the pencil here as well, just for the added texture. There are some darker values in this area, so I'm going to switch colors and just use a really light touch so the shift in color isn't too heavy-handed. Let's switch gears and work on the leaves and stem. Starting with the stem, I'm going to gradually work my way to a deeper green by adding one darker color and then another. For the leaves, I'll get the main shadows and highlights down, then I'll go back and fine-tune the details. Pretty much nothing in nature is one flat color, so I'm going to throw in a couple more shades of green. Then I can use the smudge tool to do a little blending. I don't want to blend too much though, because that look of layered paint seems more authentic to traditional oil painting. This brush might not be best suited for detail work, but I'm going to use it anyway. I've dropped the size down to add the center vein on the leaves. Even though it's not great with fine lines, the brush does a really good job of creating these little organic specks. If this small stroke was more refined, I'd probably get little dots, which wouldn't look as natural. I'm using the smudge tool to smooth out the paint in the background, and I'll use it to soften the edges on the shadow as well. All right, all done. So what do I think of this brush? I kind of love it. I think this was a good choice for my first try at digital oil painting. It was easy to use, buttery smooth, and the colors blended well with the smudge tool. The color shifting that I pointed out at the beginning of the video was actually a non-factor once I started painting. I really didn't notice it at all. I really enjoyed this brush and I will definitely use it again. If oil paint is your preferred medium, how do you think this brush performed? Let me know in the comments. If you'd like to see more from this brush review series, there's a link to the playlist in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd love if you'd give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.